Hello, and welcome to another edition of Storytelling on Orchard Street in the podcast studios of P&T Knitwear Bookstore on Orchard Street. I'm your host, Pete Solomita, and with me today is the esteemed poet George Wallace. George is a writer in residence at the Walt Whitman Birthplace, author of 40 chapbooks of poetry, and editor of New York City, an anthology of New York City poems in 2022. From his base of operations in New York City, he travels internationally to share his work and has received top honors in major international festivals in China, Greece, Bulgaria, Macedonia, and the U.S. He is also curator of Poets Building Bridges, a Zoom triangulation of poetry groups worldwide. George is also an advocate of poetry and performance, has collaborated with numerous well-known musicians and artists, and most recently in 2022-23, brought out two albums of spoken word music inspired by his poetry. George, welcome to the studio.
It's great to see you, Pete.
Yes. Oh, say that again, because I didn't have your mic on.
Well, it's still great to see you.
Well, thank you. It was so good, it was worth saying twice.
There you go.
So, this is one case where the bio could have been almost twice as long.
Oh, yeah.
Because I looked into your background a little bit. I wasn't spying on you, but I like to know a little bit about my guests. And you've accomplished quite a bit in your lifetime.
Well, it's been a long life.
Yeah. Well, I'm very impressed. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to play from your two albums, some samples from your two albums, and you're going to read. Okay. But first, I thought it'd be great if myself and my audience could get to know George Wallace, the man
Sure.
and the poet.
Love it, yeah.
Because I don't think poetry just comes from nowhere. So when you got here, you said you had lost some hearing from being in bands. So was being a musician prior to being a poet, or was it simultaneous?
Yeah, actually, my life as a musician in music started at the age of 4.
Wow.
I had two older sisters I was very jealous of because they had played piano, and I wanted to do what they were doing. So right. I pushed for piano lessons myself at the age of 4. I was reading music and playing the piano. My feet didn't touch the ground.
Right.
So even from that age, I was involved with music and considered somebody that should be going to Juilliard, but I didn't have the disposition for that.
I see.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so you were in bands. Was that something you did in addition to other things, career-wise?
Well, it was it was high school experience.
Right.
In music, I was playing playing church organ music and a little bit of concert music, and I got picked up by an R&B band as the guy with that little keyboard, to hit the question mark and the Mysterian chords.
Cool. Right. This is while you were in high school.
Yeah, while I was in high school.
Right. Did you tour, or was it like just local things?
Just around New York.
Right.
We played the Metropole. We played my father's place out.
I remember that.
Glen Cove. Yeah, you remember it?
Yeah, I saw Buddy Rich's band there.
Oh yeah. Oh, we had some good
They had
locations.
good shows back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you from Long Island?
Originally, my family's from Manhattan, but I grew up on Long Island.
Okay.
Yeah, and so most of our touring took place out in the Hamptons in the summer.
Right.
We were playing battles of the band with Billy Joel's band, while the Young Rascals were being discovered on the other side of the street.
Right.
So there's that era.
Great music back then. So there's so much to unravel. So now I know you grew up on Long Island.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things you left out of your bio, and we're going to get to the things in your bio specifically also. But I'm just curious about some of these things. So I read online that you were in the Peace Corps.
That's right. Yeah, I was in the Peace Corps. Where's my hat? I think I have my Peace Corps hat.
Oh, the hat was a Peace Corps hat? I didn't notice.
I think it is, yeah.
Oh.
I may have left it in the bathroom.
Oh, okay. I hope not.
But, yeah, I was in the Peace Corps, because at a certain point I was traveling in India, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself, and I saw the need, human need out there, and I said, I want to go into public health. So I went out to California, did some pre-med courses, and jumped into the Peace Corps from that.
Did you graduate with a degree in medical?
My undergraduate degree up at Syracuse was in English,
Uh-huh.
but then after Peace Corps, I got a master's degree in public health.
Wow. Okay.
And so that was in public health for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at that time, when did the writing thing start for you?
Well, the writing started really when I was back as a musician and trying to write songs and finding that I could write the lyrics, and I had like 100% facility with language, but like 40% facility with music.
Okay.
And so the differential was just something I was like, it's too frustrating to do to enunciate things with music.
Did you consider, finding a musician to write with? Like you write the lyrics and, like Elton John and Bernie Taupin kind of thing?
Well, in recent years,
now you do
that's what's happened is that people have come up. I don't know if you know Rick Eckerly. He's taken a poem of mine and said, "Hey, I want to put that to music." I've worked with some pretty well-known musicians, collaborated with them, and these 2 albums that I've just done were in collaboration with composers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And it said in the bio that I read that you're an active duty medical military officer.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Yeah. Well, this was the Reagan administration.
Uh-huh.
I saw the handwriting on the wall. I said, public health money's drying up. I was living in North Carolina, setting up little rural health clinics. And I'm like, what am I going to do next? So I was still thinking that I could still do something in the healthcare career. I convinced myself erroneously, I lied to myself that I could be a medical service corps officer in the Air Force. Right. And I joined the Air Force and drove out to California and said,
when was
an
this?
officer let me in. This was 81, 82.
Okay. Right, okay.
During the Reagan administration.
Right, right.
And I served 2 tours of duty in the Air Force as a medical service corps officer.
Cool.
That was enough.
Yeah, okay.
That was enough. That's what made me a poet.
Oh, how so?
Because there was nothing else left for me after that.
Oh.
Nothing left standing.
And you let something out that I thought you would want to have in your bio. This says that you're the first poet laureate of Suffolk County.
That's correct, yeah.
Well, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Well, it could be. I mean, it could be a token thing, or it could be, who knows, it could be a lot of different things. But
it doesn't matter, you're the first.
Yeah. But
it's good to be the first at something in life.
What that's based on is that I was writing for local community newspapers at the time.
Okay.
And I was covering county politics as a reporter.
Right.
So all the Republicans wanted to like me, and all the Democrats wanted me to like them, and like them like me, right? So I manipulated that. I said, "Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't we make a poet laureate here in Suffolk County?" They had one in Queens.
I see.
Queens had one. And I said I wanted one out in Suffolk, and so I got a Republican to say, "Yeah, I'll back that," or a Democrat to back it, and
playing both sides of the
got
fence.
through the legislation to pass this thing.
Cool.
And lo and behold, they named me the first one.
Wow. Was that your goal, or you just really wanted this to happen? Did you imagine they would name you?
I've as a community person, in public health, I've always been oriented towards building community.
Right.
In this case, over the past 20, 30 years in New York, building a community of poets.
Right.
So this was just one of those things that I thought that the ecology of poetry could use.
Right. Is there much of a poetry scene out in Suffolk County?
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
You kidding me?
Yeah.
Talk about, the Hamptons.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking that.
Yeah. So, and then, there's the university-based stuff in Stony Brook and other locations like that.
Of course. Right.
So, it's very busy.
Right. I forgot about Stony Brook.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Nassau County.
Oh, yeah. Nassau County's come online. They've got a poet laureate now as well.
Right.
Although they tried to take it away from the guy because they didn't like his politics. Huh. But the poets in Nassau County rebelled and said, well, we're just going to declare our own poet laureate and never mind what the county says.
Right.
So they've continued to have a poet laureate there as well, all along.
So explain that to me. Like, so you're a poet laureate. There can only be one in each county?
Well, there can be none.
Right.
And this was at a time, when Amiri Baraka, when 9/11 happened, 2001, right?
Uh-huh.
And the towers came down, and Amiri Baraka wrote a poem which was controversial to some people.
Uh-huh.
And it said, I know who's really behind this, and it was like very, contentious sort of political statements in this thing, and
Right.
it got spread around the internet as as was possible to do in 2001.
Right.
And he was a poet laureate in New Jersey. New Jersey demanded he resign. He wouldn't
Wow.
resign.
Right.
So they removed the position of poet laureate in New Jersey.
Wow.
They yanked it out from under him.
Huh.
So, there's a lot of different ways it can play out.
Right. I think a lot of people probably would say he had a lot of battles in his life, no? Or controversial.
Yeah, but I mean, it depends on where you are. In New
Right.
Jersey, it's one thing, but if
Right.
you're the poet laureate of San Francisco, like Jack Hirschman,
Right.
Gavin Newsom, who was the mayor at the time, named Jack Hirschman poet laureate of San Francisco, and Jack said, I'm going to give you a hard time. And Gavin
great.
Newsom said, that's exactly what I want.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, writers and poets should be stirring the pot a little bit sometimes, no?
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
It's definitely a potential function,
Yeah.
a valid function.
Right. So I'm trying to think if there's anything from the past of before what you gave me that we should hit upon. I think we did quite a bit of it. So what you're currently doing that you really want to highlight? Tell me about the two. How'd you wind up with two recordings at once?
Oh, that's interesting. It's about 2 years ago, I was touring. I was in Athens, Greece, and I appeared with a harpsichordist, classical musician, and there was a soprano singing songs, and a Greek poet, and I was the second poet, the American poet, and there was a guy in the audience who was a musician, Philip Dragumas,
Okay.
and he took an interest in the work, and he said, I'm interested in the possibility of putting some of these poems to music as lyrics,
Right.
which is not unprecedented in Greece.
Right.
Some of the most famous poets in Greece from the 20th century, have had their work made into lyrics, which
Right.
are popular songs.
Sure.
So it's a tradition in Greece, much more so than here.
Right.
Which, we do things our own way, but in Greece, that's a thing.
Right. Okay.
So he took an interest in it, and over about a year, we were shooting emails back and forth and listening, working stuff up. And in the second year, he pulled a band together and started practicing and doing test recordings of the thing.
Okay.
So over the course of 2.5 years, it turned into this album of 7 tracks, psychedelic jazz rock.
Okay.
That surprised the heck out of me how
Right.
good it is.
Wow.
It's
Right.
just amazingly
Right.
beautiful what he did.
Right. Now, which one is that? That's
Sappho's Little Boat.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. Right.
Yeah. And that's the words. The words are completely transformed into lyrics. So they're songs. The melodies, the words are in the lyrics as music. Whereas the other album, I had some experience out in Glencove again at Tiki Studios, very good studio, records many great people, Jimmy Webb and other people out there.
Oh, okay.
I was given some studio time
Wow.
as a birthday present.
Nice.
You know,
That's a great
So,
present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I contacted Kevin Twigg. He's a drummer for David Amram, and I said, "Hey, you want to?"
I did an internship in college, and part of my job was David Amram was doing something at what's it called, the Opera House here in downtown Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Philharmonic.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He was doing a jazz meets classical.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he needed somebody to help him keep things organized.
All right.
See, great guy and really super
Unbelievable.
talented.
Unbelievable.
Writes
Generous,
great music.
Spontaneous. He's
Right.
really wonderful guy.
Yeah. So
92 years old now.
wow, he's still ticking. That's great.
So I said, Kevin, you interested? And he said, yeah, sure. I'll come down there. So what I did was I farmed out some poems to poets I know on the scene here in New York City. Robert Gibbons, Lee Stravinsky, and Barbara Ann Branca, and a couple of other people.
Okay.
And I said, I just want you to read this poem and into your cell phone.
Uh-huh.
Or if you have better sound equipment that
Sure.
way,
Right.
send it to me as an MP3.
Right.
Send
Okay.
it to me.
Uh-huh.
I gave these to Kevin.
Mhm.
He worked up musical sketches based on them.
Huh.
Just bare bones musical sketches for each one. This one's a blues number. This one is more of a, kind of like a folk rock piece.
Right.
This one's got a jazzy tempo, whatever. And he pulled in a piano player a keyboardist,
Right.
a bass player, and he played the drums. And in 2 hours, we
That's awesome.
turned it into spoken word over music. which you're
Right.
familiar with.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you two in just a short period of time. Did you have any prior to that, or was this your first experience with
Well,
recorded poetry and music?
Back in, I've done some recording with David Amram
Oh, you did?
back in
Wow, great.
2002 or 2003 when I
Wow.
first met him.
Okay.
We did an album together. We
Nice.
actually did an album called Northport Celebrates Kerouac.
Okay.
Because Kerouac had lived in Northport, so I got a bunch of poets in, and David, as he's wont to do, just sat behind on a French horn and the flugelhorn and the flute and the piano and the conga drum.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He backed up people spontaneously,
Right.
and it was a 2-hour gig, and that was done in an hour. So I said, "Hey, let's do another hour, just you and me."
Right.
So in 1 hour, one take each, we recorded an album. Of spoken word over music.
Is
So
that
that's-
available anywhere?
Yeah, it's available. You
Okay.
can get it. It came out as part of a big book, so it was packaged in
see.
the back of a book.
Right.
But it's on Spotify. And then when I was touring England, I ran into an electronica guy, Tony Lamb,
Okay.
in Cornwall, and they put me together with this guy. They said, he's got a great studio in this farmhouse. I mean, chickens running around and stuff, right? But the studio was excellent studio.
Right.
And he sat me down in the studio, and I recorded 8 or 9 poems.
Right.
And he said, go away, we'll see what happens. And a couple months later, he had listened to them. He had set them to music and created this album called George Wallace and the Moontones, Sky Is, and that's available on CD Baby and all over the place.
Nice.
It's very different from what I did with Amram.
Okay.
So it's electronica.
Right. So why don't we play something? I have queued up, if it's okay, something from Sappho's A Little Boat.
Oh, cool.
And then we can go to your other album. Should I play the title song?
Sure, I'd love it.
Okay. So let's see how this goes. There we go.
Sappho's little boat sailed through a palm tree. There were like red wings in the window glass, and with her left hand, she come to see all fate's white caps. She made the shorebirds cry. She come to see all fate's white caps. She made the shorebirds cry. Sappho's little boat sailed through a palm tree. There were coconuts everywhere. She made a lady crab climb into the palm of her hand. She made a lady crab climb into the palm of her hand. She wrapped the palm across the hot sand and looked away from the sea.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Haha.
So that just came out 2 weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, just before, I think it was, well, before or after Christmas, so, yeah, very exciting.
So we're recording this January 25th, but it won't be aired for a few weeks, just so the audience gets a sense of what we're talking about here. So this group, is this a group that was just put together for this recording, or is this a group that was already in?
Philip Dragumas is the leader of the group. He's the lead guitarist. He had the band coming together for various reasons before, and they played dates, in Athens, Greece.
How do you pronounce the?
Dragumas.
No, the band.
Ammonia Square. Ammonia Circus.
Ammonia.
It's
Okay,
named
Ammonia.
after
Right.
Ammonia Square, which is a location.
I see.
Yeah.
You think it's gonna? This is gonna be done live anywhere, or is there plans for that?
They had they had their debut of it in January, and in May I'll
where
be
was
in
that?
Greece. I'll be in Greece, and we're going to do 2 shows with it.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'll be there for those
So you travel a lot.
as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all these places that you've been to, China, Greece, Bulgaria, Macedonia. What was your favorite place to go and when you travel, it's for the purpose of performing your poetry, correct?
Well,
Or
yeah,
partly.
yeah. Rarely do I travel just for
Right.
travel purposes.
Right.
Yeah.
Which place you felt the most home at?
Well,
or
in terms
most...
of the quality of the poetry experience and the sharing experience, It really does vary from place to place. And
Right.
I had a terrific experience in Plovdiv, Bulgaria, with Anton Bayev. He did this Orpheus festival,
Okay.
and it was about it was themed on Orpheus.
I see.
Orpheus actually. He was torn apart by the Menaids right there on that river that goes through that town.
Well, okay.
So,
Wow.
so
Right.
there's ancient historical reference points there. But at the same time, it was as contemporary as your last beer.
So you're going to festivals when you're traveling mostly? or-
Often, yeah, quite a bit.
And when,
I mean-
and when you do the festival, do you book other things like smaller type?
Well, yeah.
things,
Once I'll do individual appearances, workshops.
Right.
There's Blue Light Press, which published this book, which I'm going to read from later.
Okay.
One of the books, and published New York City from the inside. I go out there once a year and do a workshop.
Okay.
It's I get paid well enough to be
Nice.
able to go out there and do that.
Right.
Plus, you stick in a gig here and a gig there, and it's an
Okay.
experience.
Awesome.
Yeah, I used to stretch them out over long periods of time, so that I'd get on the road and I'd do like some kind of like a marathon, country and western singer, town to town kind of thing. But that was very wasteful of my time. It's much better to fly in somewhere, do 2 days worth, and come back home.
Are you just doing your art? Like you don't have a job anymore, or are you retired?
Yeah, I teach.
Oh, you teach. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
You said you teach. Sorry.
Yeah.
How many classes do you teach a week?
Well, it varies from semester to semester because I'm a
Right.
pickup employee. I'm
Right,
an
okay,
adjunct
right.
professor, so it's whatever they want
Right.
to give me.
Then-
But I usually have 3 or 4 classes a semester.
Right.
Tuesday, Thursday, I've got 3 classes, and this semester, I got something on
You
Monday.
still
Wednesday.
feel like you get something out of the teaching?
It only increases in
Yeah.
energy and energy generation
Right.
and freshness. Because I have to keep new material
Right.
in front of me,
Sure.
so that I'm a curious person by nature,
Right.
and I like to be in the process of discovery as a human being.
Right.
And,
Well, that helps.
this is one of the ways
as a
to
writer,
do that.
that's important. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just very impressed. I got to tell you, you've got a great background, great life, and I'm impressed that as you get older, it's not easy to keep as active as you are. I mean, we're not young people.
You know what?
We can't fool the audience.
Yeah, I would love to say that that this is like wow, he did this, but this is the easy way for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the easy way to do the stuff that works, that's
Right.
satisfying, that's rewarding, that helps me to grow. It
Sure.
would be very hard for me to sit on my butt and watch football.
Yeah, I can't imagine. If I retire, I'm still working. I won't be just to sit around watching TV.
Yeah.
I want to keep active and doing things.
You only get so much life, you don't want to
True.
waste a single moment.
Yeah, so I was in bands for a long time as a drummer. The poetry thing actually is relatively new. So I feel a little intimidated talking to you.
Oh, no,
It's
you
kind of funny because I just started doing this. I lost track maybe 8 years ago, but more serious the last few years. So,
Oh, we're all about tomorrow.
right,
What are we going to do tomorrow to
right.
to enhance our work? So whatever level you're at, it doesn't matter. As long as you have it tomorrow.
So I'd like to play another recording, but I also want to make sure we get in because this is going really fast, and I knew it would because there's so much to talk about with you.
Yeah.
How would you like to read something from one of your books?
Sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you got?
Uh,
And I can see that you have 40 of what's a chapbook? It's like a
it's a chapbook is like something. I consider anything that isn't put out by a Penguin
I
or
see.
Knopf,
Okay.
or to be a chapbook.
Right.
It's something produced by a boutique
right.
press of some kind.
Okay. So
and
I have a chapbook. My,
Yeah.
my book's a chapbook too.
Yeah, but to me, chapbooks are about relationships.
Right.
This has people behind it,
Right.
relationships. So I see these people that are,
Sure.
and we do things together, and so that it's a community. It's part of the community. This
Right.
is an outgrowth of it.
What's the name of the
This
book
one's
itself?
called Resistance.
You can
Is a- Resistance
show it to
is
the
a
camera.
blue Spanish guitar.
Right.
If you can see the cover, if I can, let me see.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, we can
the
see it.
cover's actually done by Octavio Quintanilla, who is a poet laureate of San Antonio, Texas.
Huh. Nice.
He does these frontextos. He does poetry and visual arts together,
Cool.
and this was one of his works.
Cool.
So
Well,
he gave me that.
nice. So what are you going to read?
I'm going to read something about this is kind of in the voice of people who are coal miners.
Huh.
You
Nice.
know,
Okay.
and talking about what's been perpetrated
Right.
on them. It's calling hauling coal in paradise. You demanded it of us. You shaped our tongues to it. To work it thus. This is our language. You know no other. Being obedient, hard-working, and patriotic, you laid it on us with jingles and charms, threatened, denied, cajoled you and your agents. You hooked us with it. You pulled us up in it. You caged us. You delivered us wholesale. You filled our nostrils with it, like exotic spices, like exotic prey. And for all that, not much of a price for us per head, but indoctrinated, ready to serve. We were the expendable. We the necessary to make the machinery go. We the many, like so many fuel for the fire. In Kanawha Valley and the Allegheny Hill, under the green Irish Sea, deep along the snaky Ruhr, or in the vast upper Silesian fields, soft as peat or hard as anthracite, clothed in wood or animal furs, this rosary of sweat and bone, meager coin, the material religion and black cloud rising. We the servants and the submissive, backbone to a nation, we the consumed and the damned. It was us. It was to us like a book of common prayer. The machinery beckoned, and we came running, and the electricity generated, and the engine ran.
Awesome, man. That's really powerful. What was the inspiration behind doing that?
Oh, I think I wrote this during when one of the political parties was, was pointing to the need for coal, and the other was pointing towards, and the coal miners were held up as super patriots.
Right.
When we all know that the coal miners were shot at by,
Sure.
when they tried to unionize.
Right. It wasn't that long ago, really, when you think about it.
So there's radical. There's a radical tradition in coal mining country.
Right.
So the complexity of that environment,
right.
and how politics tried to reduce it to bite-sized, slogans.
Well, politicians are good at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what intrigued me when I tried to get at that in this poem.
You succeeded for sure. You really did. Is that book still available?
Yeah, this book is 2 years old. It was This is Blue Guitar, and you can get it on Amazon.com.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How many books do you have currently on Amazon? Just curious.
8 or 9, 10
Nice.
maybe,
Okay.
something like that.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably find some that are like being recycled through Abe's books, or
Right.
some of them, like the one that was done for me up at Shiva Stamp Press up in Woodstock.
Mm-hmm.
That one cost like $300.
Right.
I'm like, I couldn't buy it.
Right.
Buy a whole book there.
That's crazy. So we're flying by here. Besides being a great writer, I really like your voice. You have a good voice for this. Do you like reading as much as the writing part?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's as I get older, it's tough for me to have clear, full command of the voice. Mm-hmm. Although with headphones on and a good microphone,
sure,
I can contour it.
Right.
When I'm in a studio, I almost feel like a sculptor, like I'm sculpting the sound as I'm doing it. Whereas, if you're in a cave upstate New York in Rosendale, or shouting over a crowd at one of the bars here in New York City, it can be a little less.
I get it. Right, it's hard. Yeah. Let's play something from Blowing Through Secaucus.
Yeah.
Which piece would you like me to play?
The shortest one.
Okay. Which would be?
No, maybe the first one.
Okay.
Smoke, litter, play get your radio way too loud.
So tell me about that one a little bit.
That's Lee Straminsky. He used to run a small jazz club.
Right.
And he's a poet.
Okay.
And a good performer. And I thought this poem was good for his voice because it's breezy, it's like hip and like somebody moving through the street and celebrating the street as they're moving through it.
So it's your poetry, but you're not reading it. It's someone else reading it.
Right. On this album, every one of the voices is somebody. Well, at the end, I have one piece, but it's somebody else that I farmed it out to. People that had some kind of authenticity in their voice.
What was your reasoning behind doing it that way? Did you just want to get
to
different?
Share.
Nice. Okay, I like that's a good reason. Okay, well let's hear it.
play your radio way too loud. Smoke, litter, play your radio way too loud. I do not care. I know I am home when I am in a crowd. See the office girl tighten her grip. See the office boy rocking on the subway train. Listen to the air conditioner drip, drip. I know I am home. The rough graffiti, the crumbling brick, the swaying of traffic lights in the wind, the jackhammer, the kid's bike left out in the rain, bread trucks, taxi cabs, cop cars, moving vans, caterpillar their way through the hard-lit street, and streetwalkers and torn bodega awnings, crazy torchlit parade officers shouting, "Hold up your hands!" Who could ask for anything more? One with hard hat, one with the transit worker, one with the crook who opens his dark eyes like a pay envelope, the pretzel guy, the undocumented construction worker, this or that old man sitting on a green bench or playing checkers. I am the missing kid, fresh out of juvie. I spit out my teeth like a saxophone. I am the wet salt taste of the Hudson River water smokestacks on the horizon. I am rats in apartment buildings, rats in warehouses, under dance floors, in the subway tracks. I dance when the ballerina dances. I melt when the ice caps melt. I fall silent and rise with the tide, and am in love with every blessed thing I see, street side, dockside, from the elevated train and the Coney Island roller coaster as it's about to plunge. Doo-wop, darling. Stand outside the Italian bakery in the snow with me. The busker, the snitch, the thrush, and whir of pigeon wings. These are my noises. So smoke, litter, play your radio too damn loud. It is all home to me and enough. I step up to plate. I take my swings. I step up to the bar. I have another.
Mark Mancini on the piano, Tommy Santoriello on the bass and guitar, and Lee Struminsky. All the talent that went into this. Of course, Kevin Twigg is the musical composer of the thing.
Right.
It's just amazing the ultimate result.
It's really well done, very well produced. Both of your records are, fantastic.
Yeah.
The whole production, the sound of it, and everything.
Yeah,
You must be really jazzed to have the two things at once. Both real nice pieces.
Well, I'm fortunate to have good talent, and I'm fortunate enough to that they both went to good studios, because you can get stuff that's really not all there.
Our screen just went dead. I'm hoping that doesn't mean the show's not being recorded. Okay, well, it'll be recorded. It's still being recorded audio-wise. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, the music, the musical talent and the engineering talent, which I'm not even mentioning these people, really special. So I'm fortunate.
Right. How about we, before we leave, you read another piece?
How about we hear something from you? It's all been all about me.
Well, you're the guest. Okay, let me go get. I actually have it over there. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I think I could do a 2-hour show with you. So I didn't really want to be too much about me. All right, this is just a real short one.
Yeah.
We'll go with this one. It's called Getting Late. He finally put the pipe down, then expired. Yes, died. A to-be-determined cause. She poked him, not once but thrice, twice in the arm and once in his eye. After all these years, she finally asked, "Is there something I can do to help?" He didn't answer. She was satisfied and relieved. She pulled the chain and turned on the light and sat back down to read her book, a popular romance novel written by a woman once a man. "Oh, well," she said out loud to no one who could hear. "I guess I'll have to cancel our dinner plans. It's getting late anyhow."
Ha That's good.
Okay, so George, we're getting towards the end of the episode, but I'd like to hear you read one more piece before we go.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this time, by the way.
No, I appreciate
this-
you coming down.
Yeah, sure. This book, which just came out a couple months before the album, is the material that the album comes from.
Right.
Blowing Through Secaucus,
Oh,
Gutter Snob
Okay,
Press.
nice. Hey, show it up
Yeah.
to the camera for the...
Yep, right there in front of my face.
Great.
Blowing Through Secaucus. It's a full book of poems, about New Jersey and New York area.
Mhm.
So I'll read you this one. And it's called My First Wedding.
Okay.
It's in honor of my first wife. I was fortunate in love. Angels appeared like shopping carts over the church where I and my true desire were bound in holy matrimony. It rained groceries for 7 days and 7 nights. Cabbages, carrots, fish sticks, sacks of fingerling potatoes. It was bliss. It was too much for just one man and one woman. Jellied hams, oven roasted chickens, enormous loaves of fresh bread, fresh lettuce, a great big cake. What a parcel of nuptial riches. Angels spilling out of every corner of heaven, dumping ripe plums and apricots for miles in every direction. The Lord himself must have busted a stitch, said the preacher, to see a couple so happy as we. The creature who lives outside the nave licking his thumbs agreed. There is no other explanation for it. Yes, he was covered in black molasses and other fine victuals. But whatever are we to do with all these groceries? We fed the poor.
That's a good thing to do with all those groceries, and you made me hungry. So you said that was about your first wife? Is that what you said, or about your first wife?
I've never had a poem that's been about something real.
Oh, I see. Got it.
It's something that it becomes about itself. As I
Right.
create it. Yeah.
So most of your poems, or you said none of your poems are personal?
Very rarely,
Right.
will I write something. I wrote on the 40th anniversary of my father's death. I wrote a dedicatory poem.
Right.
But it was there's a lot of speculation in it and a lot of, messing with the facts because, I believe that writing a poem is about discovery,
Right.
about what you're writing towards, not what you're writing from.
Right. All right. I get it. Unfortunately, that's about the end of the show. It's been a fantastic show. You've been a very illuminating guest. So happy you took the time to come here. So again, once again, I'd like to thank the esteemed poet George Wallace. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
And you've been listening to Storytelling on Orchard Street. We're in the podcast studios of P&T Knitwear Bookstore. Come check us out. Check the books out, buy a book, learn something. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate your time, and hope you all enjoyed this fine episode. Thank you, and see you, George.
Thanks, Pete.